So the question is encode and decode strings. This is question number 271 on LeetCode, but as it's a premium question, so we'll be solving it on GFG. Given an array of string, you are required to create an algorithm, the encode function, that can convert the given strings into a single encoded string, which can be transmitted over the network and then decoded back to the original array of strings. The decoding will happen in the decode function. So basically we need to implement two functions, encode and decode. So the given example, we have an array of strings which has two strings. So given in this example, we have two strings in the array, hello and world. We need to combine them to create a single string S. There can be many different ways you can solve this question, but the method we will be using is called protobuf, used in gRPC, but the protobuf encoding is a binary encoding. This we will be doing it in a string. So the most naive idea you would get is to just concatenate both the strings, like a hello world. But when decoding the string, how will you separate these two strings? As in the output, we have to return the original strings back. So you think you can separate the words using a comma or maybe a hash or maybe any special character. But what if the string itself contains a special character? So in this case, we'll be playing with the length of each string. So for example, hello here has a length 5. Now we'll add a special character here to denote that this is the end of the length. Because suppose you have a string that whose length is say 114. So how do you know when to stop for the length? So we can add a hash symbol. So for this example, hello, the length is 5, and after that we can just add hello. That is this string here. Now again for this one, what we will do is the length of the word, that is 5, followed by a symbol and then followed by the word. So this is our string. Now when we decode it, what we will do is to traverse it until we get a hash symbol. Once we get a hash symbol, we know that everything before this hash symbol will be the length of the string after the hash. So we know that 5. So after the hash, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be one of the strings in the array, and we can push it. In the same way, after this ends, we will traverse up to the point when we get a hash. So then we get a length. So after the hash, we will be counting 5 length, and the 5 length will be containing our next word. So suppose we have a string, LeetCode gets you jobs. So suppose you have the input array as LeetCode gets you jobs. So what will be the string here? So as per our algorithm, first we'll count the length. So the length is 4, followed by a symbol, let's take hash, and then followed by the word leet. Same, repeat here. So code is of length 4, so 4 followed by a hash and the entire word code. Then 4 hash gets, now the length is 3 here, 3 hash you, let me write it down, then 4 hash jobs. So this will be your encoded string. To decode it, we will traverse through the string. We look for a number until the value of hash. So we look for a number until we get a hash symbol. So 4. Now after the hash we will count 4 characters. So this will be one string. then we get a 4, then code. Similarly, this will be our final output that was originally our initial input. Now, the encoding part is easy. The decoding part can be a bit tricky. So let's do a dry run for this. So we'll use a variable I that is in the 0th index at first. So now we'll run a while loop that will run until the I reaches to the end of the string. So until it reaches to this position, so the while loop will be running. So now we need to find the length of the first string. So we'll use a variable j that is starting from I, and it will be traversing until it doesn't get a hash symbol. So j from here, it will go to here. Now as we can see, j finds a hash symbol. So the length, so the length will be a substring starting from the ith index of length j minus I. So I here is 0, so the substring will be starting from 0, and j is at 1, I is at 0, so this gives us 1. So we know that the length of the string that we want is of length 1, so it's a single digit number basically. So now we can start from I and count 1 digit, and this itself will be our length of the string. So we can store it in the length. We can use the function stoi or stoi that converts the string into an integer that will store it inside the length. So now the next step will be to increment I to the starting of the string. So we can do I, so what we can do is I is equal to j plus 1. So I will come to here, and then j will be equal to I plus length. So here in this example, let's take I is at 2 and the length is 5. So j will be at the 7th index. So we can get j from here to the 7th index, that is here. So j will always be on the starting index of the length of the string that will be next after the hash symbol. So now we can get our string. So our string will be a substring starting from the ith variable up to, and the size of the substring will be the length. So in this case, the length is equal to 5. So starting from I, we will take the 5 element and create it as a substring. And now we can push this string into the answer. So in the answer, we get hello. Now after all this, I will be equal to j. So we take I from here and up to here. Now we repeat the same thing. So first of all, we will traverse j until we don't get a hash symbol that is on the very next element. Now here I is at 7 and j minus I, 8 minus 7 is 1. So from 7th index we will count one element, that is 4. So 4 is the length of our next string. So now we will go I is equal to j plus 1. So I will traverse to j plus 1 here. Now, and we can change our position of j to I plus length. I plus length, in this case I is at 9 and length is at 4. So it's 13. So j comes here, so 13th index. Now we create the string. So to create the substring, I is at index 9 and the length of the string is 4. So starting from 9, we will be counting 4 elements and that will be the string. So we can push the string into the answer. Now we repeat the process again, and we also need to, and we also don't forget to be, also don't forget to complete this step where I is now at j. Now we do it all over again. We will traverse j until we don't find a hash that is at the next element. Then we can use this length function to find the length of the string. In this case it is 4. So then we will traverse, so then we move the I element to j plus 1. So now it's here. Now we will find the substring. So we can create the substring starting from the ith index up to the 4 elements next. Now also j is equal to I plus length. So here I is 15 and length is 4. So j will be at 15 plus 4 19. So j will be out here and I is equal to j. So I goes out of bound, that is more than the string of more than the length of string. So we come out of the while loop and then just return the answer. So the time complexity for this solution will be O of m for both encode and decode, and the space complexity will be O of m plus n for both encode and decode. Here n is the number of strings and m being the sum of length of all the strings. In the encode function, we'll create a string that will be returning. Now we will traverse on every word on the input array, and in every string we will be adding the word dot size followed by a hash that defines the end of every single length, and then followed by the actual word, and then we will return the string. For the decode function, we'll create a vector of string to store the answers. Now we use the I element, and while I is less than s dot size, we will use an index j that will be starting from I. While j is not equal to the hash symbol, we will increment j. Now to finding the length of the string, we will use story, the substring of I, comma j minus I, and then I is equal to j plus 1. Then we move j to I plus length, that is the next element's length, and then push the substring starting from I of length into the answer, and then we move I to j. And here we can check the solution works fine.